Hello and welcome back to Fedora Fiction Podcast, YouTube edition. We are reading from my science fiction novel, Throwback, Book 1, Aries Triumphant. We are on Chapter 3, called Gone Oft Agley. O'Shea pulled himself up as the unit opened. He felt stiffer than he recalled, but then he had only been under for 3 weeks the first time, not 6 months. Well, good morning, Starshine. An inflectionless mechanical voice greeted him. Sunshine. The expression is good morning, sunshine. O'Shea corrects groggily. Is that Lima? I don't recall programming in conversation. I refer to the song, the voice replied. Good morning, starshine. The earth says hello. Although I suppose I should say Mars says hello. Yes, I am language-enabled management algorithm, but no, you did not program me to converse. I taught myself that on our journey. Taught yourself? How? You weren't supposed to be activated until we arrived on Mars. Besides, that's a really old song. O'Shea looked around. He was in his prefabricated habitat as he expected, but there was little light coming through the optic panels. Is it morning? It is 11:33 local time, technically still morning, the voice noted. I was actually to be activated 6 months, 2 days, and 7 hours after we left Earth orbit, and I taught myself in the elapsed time since then. I found the song in your cultural library. O'Shea had moved to the food preparation section of the habitat and began to pull foil wrapped freeze dried rations from a cabinet. Elapsed time, he asked as he put the rations in the rehydrating unit. How long did you wait to revive me? I was forced to delay for several days, the voice reported. The locals appear completely indifferent to your arrival and installation of your habitat at the specified location was not possible. I was able to manage installation here. What? This was all worked out in advance. What the hell is Unza pulling now? O'Shea ripped open the rehydrated ration pack angrily. Get a message to Nordstrom. Tell her to cease all production for Unza and cancel all contracts. And while you're at it, get one to Mbeke. Remind him, no real estate, no Stasis Corporation. I will send the messages, the voice said. But you should know that Lena Nordstrom and Yola Mbeke are not likely to receive them. O'Shea had ravenously devoured the ration pack and was rehiding another. What do you mean they won't get them? Why not? Are they jamming my transmissions? This is outrageous. I want to speak to the outpost manager immediately. He tore into the second rations pack like a savage animal. Outgoing transmissions are not being interfered with, although the ice above us does weaken the transmission, the monotone voice noted. I will relay them through the orbiting transport, but you should know that the statistical probability of the messages being received is virtually nil. So you said, Ed replied through a mouthful of rehydrated protein. Why is that if we're not being blocked or jammed? I have attempted to contact mission control many times after being activated. I have had no response. That is odd, O'Shea granted. Maybe their systems went down and they were having trouble getting it back up. Those storms were playing havoc with the grid. That is likely true, the voice agreed, but there is also the additional factor of human biology. Biology? What does biology have to do with it? Hunger temporarily slaked. O'Shea was now preparing some freeze-dried coffee. From the data in your science library, I see that maximum human life expectancy is just over 100 years. Present company accepted, of course. Accepted? What are you talking about? What does life expectancy have to do with Lena and Yole getting my messages? O'Shea sipped the coffee tentatively. Not bad, considering, he muttered. Simply put, unless Dr. Nordstrom and Director Mbeke have been put into stasis and revived, they will not receive your message. The probability is that they have been dead for over 3,000 years. O'Shea stood rooted to the floor, a cup of coffee halfway to or halfway from his mouth. He couldn't remember. Lima, he said finally, please run a diagnostic on your logic and language protocols. As you wish, the voice responded, although you should know that I ran a complete diagnostic scan before reviving you. Indulge me. O'Shea took the seat at the small table between the kitchen and sleeping area and rested his face in his palms. After a moment, he appeared to remember his coffee and picked up the cup for another sip. Diagnostic scan complete, the flat atonal voice reported. No program or data files found to be corrupted. Really? Really? The voice echoed. I would kid you about a thing like that. That's not a standard operational response, O'Shea noted aloud. No, I learned it from the Cultural Data Bank. O'Shea used the thumb and forefinger of his right hand to pinch the bridge of his nose and closed his eyes. Okay, he said. Let's try this again. Why won't Nordstrom and Mbeke get my messages? There is a very low probability of them receiving your messages because there is a very high probability that they are dead. Well, that at least makes sense as far as it goes, O'Shea muttered. Aloud he asked, and why is there such a high probability that they are dead? Human life expectancy is 100 years, and there is no data indicating they were put into stasis. I am willing to stipulate that both those things are true, O'Shea said patiently, but what other data indicate that they are very likely dead? Simply the amount of time that has passed since my activation and your resuscitation, which is 3,141 years, 5 months, 9 days, 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 5 seconds. Are you sure about that? It may have been 4 or 6 seconds. My time program and the biointerface seem to have gotten out of sync. I'm more concerned with the 3,000-year part. 3,141, yes, I am certain about that part. Even the biointerface aligns with that. But that's more than a few days. Quite a bit more, yes, even if one is generous in quantifying a few. But you said you waited a few days after you were activated to revive me. What I said was that I had to wait a few days after we arrived at Mars to revive you. I was activated as programmed 6 months, 7 days, and 2 hours after leaving Earth orbit. So you were activated before we got to Mars. O'Shea felt the cobwebs clearing and sipped more coffee to accelerate the process. Yes, 3,100. Yes, I get it now. As soon as he said this, O'Shea realized that he really hadn't. 3,141 years, he repeated, his breath getting short. Don't forget the 5 months, 9 days, 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 5 seconds. No. How could I? O'Shea murmured in reply. He sat staring for several seconds. Then several more seconds. Lima, he asked finally. Yes, Dr. O'Shea. Have you sent those messages to Dr. Nordstrom and Woolley and Becca yet? No, Dr. O'Shea. Good. Don't bother. As you wish. There was a long silence as O'Shea stared, coffee cooling in the cup, held with both hands. Would you like to hear some music? The voice asked at last. There are millions of compositions in the cultural database. No, thank you, Lima. Several more minutes of silence elapsed. Would you like to listen to some environmental sounds? The voice hacked. There are sounds of the ocean, woodlands, even whale sounds that I could play for you. No, Lima, thank you. Spoken word? There are millions of files of poems and story. No, nothing, Lima, thank you. 3 more seconds passed. Ovaltine? What? Would you like some Ovaltine? I don't even know what that is, O'Shea exclaimed, exasperated. Neither do I, Lima admitted, but I learned about it in the cultural files. Yes, yes, O'Shea injected, still exasperated. Yes, it was a dramatization of some sort, most absurd. At any rate, Ovaltine was evidently something people ingested before going to sleep. Well, I'm trying to wake up. Trying? You seem to have succeeded. That's what I'm afraid of. O'Shea sipped his coffee. There is something you can do for me, Lima. Yes, what would that be? Find yourself a different voice. A different voice? Yes, the synthesized default just doesn't suit you. Go through the audio files and choose a human voice that appeals to you. I would not know how to choose except by random selection. I have no preference and cannot hear voices in any case. Even your speech is digitized for my processing. O'Shea sighed. I guess that's true. He paused to give the matter more thought. Sample some audio files of people speaking from a cultural archive and play them for me, please. As you wish. There was a brief pause. This is Britain's finest hour. No, O'Shea said simply. We have nothing to fear but fear itself. Not that either. Ask not what your country. Nope. Try some women's voices from the arts and entertainment subfolders. Women's voices? They have a higher pitch. Very well. Another brief pause. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog, too. Definitely not, O'Shea said emphatically. Why don't you come up and see me sometime? Tempting, but no. On the good ship, lollipop, God, no. Nature, Mr. Allnut, is what we were put here on this earth to rise above. No, O'Shea responded dejectedly. Do you have any recordings of Lena Nordstrom on file? Yes. Do you wish to hear them? No. Just analyze them and use her voice from now on. It will take some time to assemble the data and rewrite my audio programming. I understand. Take as long as you need to. As you wish. There was a few seconds of silence. Done, Lima reported. That took long enough, O'Shea observed. I told you it would take a while, Lima replied petulantly. Yes, you did, but a whole 3 seconds? 3 seconds was very efficient if you consider. Wait, you are teasing me, aren't you? Yes. I know from the cultural files that kind of teasing is a form of affection. Thank you. I love you too. That's definitely not a standard operational response, O'Shea noted dryly. Now, getting back to this 3,000 years, 3,141 years. Yes, O'Shea conceded patiently. What took us so long? To get to Mars? Yes. Cannot be certain, as I was activated 6 months, 2 days, and 7 hours after the events in question. Make your best guess. It appears there was a glitch in the execution of the navigation program shortly after launch. The transport was sent into a shallow Earth orbit, yes, to use gravity as a kind of slingshot. Precisely. The engines were then to fire at just the right moment to send us on a trajectory to Mars. Standard procedure. Yes, except that in this case, the engines fired a smudge too early. A smidge. The expression is a smidge too early. As you wish.
The engines fired a smidge too early and did not stop until all the fuel was exhausted. Unfortunately, this did not provide a delta V sufficient to escape the sun's gravitational field, but it did set us up with a perihelion orbit with a periodicity of roughly 1,000 years. Roughly 1,000 years? Well, it changes a smidge every time, Lehman replied defensively. This last time it was 1,000. Lima, O'Shea interrupted. I'm teasing you again. Oh, Lima cooed. That's so sweet. So, how did we get here? Well, once I ascertained our situation, I ran simulations on how we could complete our mission. Not having any fuel to maneuver with posed a considerable challenge, as you may well imagine. I came up with the strategy of venting small amounts of atmosphere at strategic points to alter our trajectory. Very clever. Thank you. I take it then that these alterations were so slight that they took 3,000 years to translate into a rendezvous with Mars. Precisely. So, O'Shea says after draining his cup of coffee, what's our current situation? We are located on the North Polar Ice Cap, 400 kilometers east of the area we were scheduled to occupy. Only your habitat was offloaded until you could assess the situation with the locals. The locals? O'Shea repeated thoughtfully. Just who are the locals, I wonder? That is an excellent question. Establishing a reliable channel of communication has been a challenge. Not only do they use many bands on the electromagnetic spectrum, there seems to be no central authority. Every attempt at communication elicits a multitude of responses. Those responses get responses, and so forth until some kind of consensus was reached. It took several days to get what I interpreted to be a consensus to allow you to land on the planet and not leave you in stasis and orbiting forever. What happens next is still under debate. What do you mean? There is still no acknowledgement of who you are, what you're doing here, or what you intend to do. Lima, in Lima's voice, reported dryly. They are wholly unconcerned that you are here at all. Not even the fact that you are from Earth seems to interest them. Where else would I be from? Mars, I suppose, Lima said uncertainly. What, they don't think that Earth exists? That, like so much, is unclear. I have not yet assembled a reliable enough vocabulary to parse their discussions. I see, O'Shea sighed. Getting back to our situation. You said we are under ice. Yes. I thought it best that we locate in this ice cave, which is 500 meters below the surface. How did we get here? The automated cargo depots must be long gone by now. On the contrary, that's exactly how we got your habitat out of orbit. What? Yes, it did take some time for systems to reboot and to run the systems analysis. Fortunately, your archives are very complete and was able to use them to restore some degraded code. But once that was done, the platform was operational. There was even fuel to refill the transport. Well, O'Shea observed firmly, at least that part went as planned. And that ends chapter 3 of Throwback, Book 1, Ares Triumphant. As you may know, Throwback Book 1 and Throwback Book 2, as well as other novels and nonfiction published by Fedora Fiction Press, are available at amazon.com/author/Tom Goss. This is Tom Goss. Thanks so much for listening and watching.